Hi everyone, welcome to our first class on the basics of Excel, and I'm going to walk through with you just the very basics of Excel just to get you up and running, understand the basics, because I know it can be very daunting to see all the cells, to see all the different buttons, gadgets and widgets in Excel. So we're going to take you through that today, starting with just how to open Excel. So you can see my screen here. I have Excel pinned to my taskbar, but you might have to just, once you have it installed, go into your search bar here and type Excel. So I'm just going to open up mine quick. So as you can see here, once the Excel is open, you'll have your different previous saved workbooks. We'll get into that in the future. And then some maybe recommended Excel workbooks at the top. So we want to go ahead and create a blank workbook here. So you just click on it. It'll open it now. And as you can see, what opens straight away is a blank kind of piece of paper. You can do control on your scroll wheel just to zoom in a little bit, or in the bottom right you can click the plus or minus here and that'll let you zoom into the cells a bit more. So now that we have Excel open, I'm going to take you through the key work areas. So that starts with our ribbons. So these individual little tabs here at the top are ribbons, and these all have different functionality and format. So if we start with home, this is your basic font. This is the format of your words. So how do you want your words to look? What font do you want? The size of the font. So if we type something quick here, how big or how small you want the font. And then some other different bits, like the fill color will fill in the cell, and the font color will obviously change the font. So we'll change that back to black, and we will remove this. As you go along, you can see all your different formatting options. So if you have numbers, you can have decimal places or commas. And towards the end, you can individually format the cells for different rows and heights. But I will be taking you through that in a bit. So what is a cell? These individual blocks are cells, and you can see they have their own numerical and alphabetical value. So the very first cell you can see is A1 because it's the intersection of this row going across and the column coming down. If we were over here, this is column I going down, and it intersects with row 3. So this is the cell I3. So that's that nice and done. Down the bottom we have something called tabs, and you can have as many of these as you want. So your tab is a worksheet. So this is your worksheet, and this worksheet is associated with this tab. If you click on, so say if we have some data in here, we'll go to our second worksheet. That's a brand new piece of paper, so to speak. And we go back to the first one, you can see our data is saved. And in the second one, you can have different data and you can switch between them. No problem. So we'll quickly remove this before we proceed. If you want to enter data into a specific cell or range of cells, so let's click on a cell here. We'll go into the tab 1 and remove this data first. If you want to put data into a specific cell, you have different ways of going about it. You can go over to a cell. Once you've highlighted the cell by clicking on it, you can see the highlight here. You can start typing from your keyboard. So say we want to put 100 in there, that's fine. You can also click on a cell, either double click, you can see now your cursor is highlighting everything. So if you want to remove part of that, you can delete it. Or this is called your formula bar, which you can put content as well. So content, and that'll fill into the cell. So what's linked to your cell content is linked to this formula bar. This formula is called the formula bar because later on in these demonstrations, I'll show you how to create formulas, put formulas in, and what formulas can do. Column. So next on the chopping block is if you have data across different columns, you have your columns here, A, B, C, and D. If you ever want, you can click on C, for example. You can right click, it'll give you a little menu here, and you can insert a new column which will shift over D's, what used to be C's data, and over to D. What used to be C's data over to D, and the rest over to the right. Just like if you were to click on the rows here, and you right click on 3, you can insert, and that will shift the data down, and you can do this with either the row or the columns. And if you wanted to shift multiple down, you can click on 3, drag maybe 4 down, click insert, and these status will move 4 down. So that's the basic of moving data. If you want to move just the data and not the rows or the columns, you can select the data here. So in this cell B8, we have the letter D. So that's just the content of it. You want to hover over the border until you get this weird quadruple arrow. Click, and then that will allow you to move the data to anywhere else in the sheet that you find appropriate. So you can say we can move all these together. We'll group the D's together. And that's the basic of moving. If you want to fill other cells to the left or to the right or downwards or upwards with the same data, in the corner you can see this little square. Wait until you have this blocky cross icon. Click on it, drag down or drag right or drag left, up, whatever way you want. Drag, let go. It will fill in the rest of the cells with the same content. This one is just the letter D. What we'll do now is we'll highlight all cells, press the delete button, and that'll delete the cell's contents. So now let's look at the basics of formatting different contents in a cell. So what we'll do now first is make sure you're on the home ribbon. We're going to demonstrate some of the ways in which you can format a cell, the basics of formatting, and this will be handy if you're creating reports in work or if you want a nice shopping list to make it look fancy. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and enter some data. So let's say we'll enter days of the week: Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday. Why not? So the basics of formatting goes as if we click on this cell B3, Monday, we can edit the format in different ways. So again, like we said earlier, let's have a look at different fonts we can use. So for this one, Monday, because Monday is quite brutal, we'll use more of a brutal text. So Monday, that looks like a Monday to me. So we can go ahead now and make Monday as menacing as it is, change the font. So here we have Monday, which has a different font coloring, and we will add just a cell background, a cell color. What looks the most menacing? This. That looks like Monday to me. So if your cell data fits the content of the cell, as it does here, that's handy. Sometimes you'll put data into a cell that doesn't quite fit. You can click on the edge of a column or row. See here, you'll get the divider, and you can drag the column to make it bigger or to make it smaller. Or when you get this icon, you can double click and it will fill the size. So say if it's out here and you're like, that's way too big, double click and that'll bring it into an appropriate size. So say again, with the row, wait till you get this double arrow over the line. And once you get that icon, you can move up or down. And again, if it's not appropriately fitted, double click and Excel will do the work and appropriately size it. So let's have a look at Tuesday. What way can we format Tuesday? Tuesdays are my favorite day, but sometimes they feel a bit long. So I'll show you how to stretch a Tuesday out. What you can do in Excel is you have multiple cells. Say if you want Tuesday to come across some of these cells, you can hold, drag across, and the merge and center will take Tuesday and drag it across multiple cells. So you can have kind of a header. Say if you were to make it a bit bigger at the font, put it in bold, and we put it in italics. So say Tuesday is a very long, stretchy day there, you can see. And that's how we format different text. And then say for Saturday, different ways we can edit Saturday. Let's see. For Saturday, we want it to last forever. So let's just box in Saturday there. In Excel, you can change the content. You can change the appearance of borders. Here's this option here. And then the final bit of cell editing I want to show you briefly is, so just under here, what we'll do is we'll add some numbers. So 100, 50.50, 3.14, and you can see these different ones. If you have numbered content in a cell, you can format this in different ways. So for example, 3.14, if we wanted to remove a decimal place, we can do that and represent it as 3.1, or add the decimal place back using these two buttons here to remove or add decimal places. If we had a very large number, so let's keep typing, and sometimes that can be visually sore on the eyes to look at. So say in a report, if you're doing a report for your manager, you might want to go ahead and add a comma. Now, before we didn't know what that number was, we can clearly see it is 10 million. and there's decimals there. Say you don't want decimal places, again, you can remove them. If this 10 million represents a monetary figure, you can go ahead, click this drop down on this cash icon and select whatever the appropriate currency is for you. For me, it's euro. So there you have 10 million squids, and that's perfect. If you ever want to get numbers as a percentage, you have a percentage button here. Just remember that 3.14, when you turn it into a percentage, will come up as 314%. So before you do that, just undo that there, and you'll have to represent a percentage as a decimal of 1. So say 50% is 0.5. So you have 0.5 there, change it, and there's your 50%. If ever you're doing a report or you want to demonstrate something that's 50%, it's 0.5, and then hit the percentage button. So I want to bring you through just a final exercise summing up the basics of what's shown off today, and we want to go and create a shopping list. So say if you want to go to the shops and you know what you want beforehand and you kind of have an idea of prices and everything, but you want to have a concrete list, here's an example of what you can do in Excel. So we'll open up a new tab. I know we have plenty there, but we can right click on the tab, rename, let's name this shopping list. And we can, if it's very important, tab color, green. So you can see your shopping list is there. So again, we'll use on the bottom right, this plus icon to go in, so it's not too zoomed out. And now we have cell A1. So say from here, what we'll do is we'll call this our shopping list. And we want this to be a header. So to make it look nice, we'll click on it. We'll go over to cell D and we will merge and center. So it's across a couple of different ones. Actually, we'll drag it across, unmerge it, merge it again, and it's across 4 different columns so that we can make subheaders. We'll go ahead and make that bigger and put it in bold. So we're using some of the stuff we showed off earlier to make a nice looking title. So that's shopping list. So we want subheaders for the shopping list. So maybe the item, description. So that would be what you're picking up in the shop. And again, if you want something to fit nice and neat in a cell, this is in column B. So you hover over to get this icon, double click. That looks lovely. Then we have the next one. We'll do another header, value of the item, and the quantity of the item, and then the total price. So we can adjust some of these to make them look nice. Now, under here, we actually might make another border. So we'll do a nice looking border, top and bottom. Excellent. So in the item description, let's add some items to our shopping list. So we'll say bread, eggs, let's say chips, and a couple of other things like oil, some generic meat, and a banana. Let's say the bread is 2. And again, if you want to highlight all these values, what we can do is we can select these cells and change them into euro. So we have bread is €2, eggs is 2.55, the chips will be 3.25, oil will be €3, the meat will be 5.59, and I'm just making these prices as we go so we can do some demonstrations later. And the banana will be €12 and 69 cents. Now we just want 1 loaf of bread. We will have maybe 2 cartons of egg. We will have 2 packets of crisps, 1 lot of oil, 3 packets of generic meat, and 2 bunches of bananas. So I've showed you how to format cells. So we can do some of that again here. So if we want to take the names of stuff, we select the cell color. So the name is different, purple. We can select the rest of this table here, and we can have that light blue just to differentiate the items from the numericals. So we're going to move over to total price. And just for the end of this demonstration, we wanted to show some basic formulas. So in here, you can find out the total price of the bread by using equals, and that's how you start off all formulas, equals, select the cell, the value of the bread, so that's €2, asterisk, in Excel, asterisk is short for multiply, or that's how you do multiply, and then you want to times it by D4, which is how many loaves of bread you're going to obtain, and €2, because if you only hit 1 for €2, that's €2. So here you have the cell. Now you could type that in for everyone here and find out the total price of the value times the quantity of the item that you're getting, or you could click the cell, you could drag down on this little box, and that will pull down the formula and change it as it goes. So here you have, it'll show you here, if you ever click into the formula and show you what it's doing, it's this times this, perfect. And as we've done, we've dragged it down this time, this, and as you can see, the total price is the value times the quantity, gives you the total price of what you'll be spending on that item, X. And then the only other formula I just want to show off is a total or sum formula. So if you hit X equals SUM, open your brackets, and you want to click on the first value, drag down, and you want to close your brackets. Well, this will sum or total up all the price of the items that you are obtaining, and if we want, we can click some of these cells here, use some of this formatting as we did earlier. We're going to merge these, have total, and that will be your total line, and say for the total we'll use an accountancy type, top and double bottom, and you can see the price of your shopping list, the shopping total. And if you want, you can add a final border around all of it, around none of it, whatever way. You can have these in bold, and there's some other different things you can kind of mess about with to try and make it look nice and pretty. So that's the basics of Excel. So we've shown you what a cell is, what a tab is. We've looked at the home ribbon. In future episodes, we will show you what these different ribbons do. Insert and draw. Insert if you want to add pictures or add data from other Excels. Formulas is the ribbon specifically for adding more complex formulas, which we'll do in later videos. And you have some of the other ones here, like review. You can protect a workbook so no one else can edit it, or so that you can't edit it if you have a complex formula that you don't want anyone mucking about in. We'll cover that in a later video. But back to the home one, we've shown you the very basics. So say the font, alignment, number, just the very basics of formatting cells and formatting rows and columns. We've shown you how to enter data, how to erase data, and just the basics of creating, say, a basic shopping list. And finally, to close it off, because we don't want to lose this information, you can go up to the top here, hit the save icon or file, save as, and then you can save that down into, say, documents, and click here and save as shopping list. So in your documents, you'll be able to find this workbook again and access it. And if you want to add more stuff to the shopping list or whatever it is, you can do that. So save. Yes. Now, thank you all very much for watching. That was our introductory episode into basic formatting and basic ability of Excel.